What's going on, everybody? It's Childish. We're back at it again. We got ourselves the next Theory Crafting Thursday video for y'all today. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. If you're new to the channel, welcome to the channel. A couple of weeks back, we asked the community on some new and exciting things they wanted, and we decided to create this theory crafting video, the series for you guys, talking about some of the things that our Epic Fail community talks about on a regular basis. We got a short list here for you today, but we do have a nice surprise guest for you. Former Educate and Dominate guest, a top 10 G3 arena player on the global side. We got ourselves What the Fwa in the house. How we doing, sir?
Doing good, really good. How are you guys? How are you, man?
I'm doing really good, sir. He's like, how are you guys when nobody's listening, right? So, no, just, we're all here chilling here, looking at your Zyrosis. No big deal. No big deal. It's all good. No salt. No salt. I like that. I like that, sir. So, but no, man, thank you for coming on board. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. So this last week, we were talking about a little bit on the destroy runes, and since that time, we've had a lot of things change, or a lot of things that we discussed. I think the first thing that we do, actually, I'm gonna switch it around here because your topic kind of leads into the last topic here. The first thing that we talked about that was actually a quick conversation was the recent change on Bastet. Okay, so for some of those that are using that Devolution comp, a Bernard Mega Lucian comp, they were utilizing Lucian's, or sorry, the Megan, right, to give it some more of that attack buff gauge, so that it can reduce the amount of speed needed to get Lucian sync. Now with Bastet in there, we got that same kind of concept, but it seems like now instead of that defense buff, we're getting the shield buff. I put out the argument for the community, even though to these units are kind of apples and oranges. Is the defense buff better or the shield buff better? We got a little bit of, I think it was kind of unanimous as far as what people argued about. We went with the shield buff being superior, as the defense buff, while it is 70% increase on the base stats and whatnot. Looking at the combinations unit that people are utilizing, like a YOLO type comp and whatnot, they're relatively low on base defense, and so 70% of a low base defense is really not going to give you all too much bang for your buck. What was your take on that, Fall? What'd you think about that?
Oh yeah, the shield is much better, especially if you have your slot 3 maxed out, your defense slot. Just because, like for example, if you're attacking you Water Fury King and he dies and he comes back and does his AoE thing, your shield, if he glances on your wind units, you absorb all the damage. Where if you just have your defense buff up, you're still gonna take in at least like 2-3k, a few k damage from the
Mm-hmm.
Water Fury King. So
Yep, very nice. And then of course like when I was looking at I mean, when you think about Bastet just overall, regardless of if shield or defense buff better, what, the debuffs that you can get, you can bring to the mix is going to be pretty darn strong. So it's hard to argue about that, but it was still nice to talk about because again, when I get in situations with my like Charlotte, Megan, Lucian, I was a big advocate of Megan having that defensive buff because I actually had 1100 defense on her just with random raw stats, before the defensive buff came into play. And so when I had compositions set up to where they went for Megan, they had wind-based units like a Wind Monkey King or whatever. If I didn't kill that Wind Monkey King right away or that Eladra right away, they go for that Megan. She'd be able to take a hit. So I was really addicted to the defensive buff early on, but then of course, after overlooking the or just looking at both the units all day and what they provide, for the comps overall, I really was on board with everybody in the community, saying Bastet is the shit.
yep.
Basically, is what it comes down to. So one thing that I wanted to mention, we kind of hit that nail on the head. But as always, guys, with these Theory Crafting Thursday videos, regardless of what we talk about, we love to leave it with a question. Kind of end of that tab. We want to get some discussion. We want to get some debate. That's the only way we can learn. So for you guys, with regards to that defensive buff versus shield buff, what do you think about them, pros and cons, and what kind of situations do you think you can benefit from one and from either or? Think about those compositions. and put them in the comment section down below. The next one up, I want to give a shout out to our epic fail Delta leader, Bad Hands. He did some testing on this, and we had a lot of people in the community test it out. The recent change on the light drunken master, if you guys saw, he had that first skill. He had that first skill change with the ignore defense, and of course he's bringing two skills that can provide a little bit of heal over time. It looks like comparison to like another support, like a secondary support type of a unit, sort of like a Miyang or whatnot. It seems like across the board, what Miyang provides to the mix seem to be probably the better choice there. What was your take from that aspect on that argument, Fwa?
Let's see, Mian's got the cleanse with the light drunken masters, got the heal that heals what 25% of the damage that he does with his third skill, and then he's got another heal with his second skill. But there's actually another unit that I think is actually better. It's the wind drunken master instead of the light drunken master, because the wind one actually has a heal over time for 2 turns. I actually 6-star mine like a few hours ago. You could actually go take a look at him. He should be like level 35 or 36 or 37. He
Let's
should
see.
be all the way down. Yep, right
There we
there.
go.
Like read his last skill. It defense breaks also, and it
Right.
heals for 2 turns. Where the light one, I mean, because the raid boss, he's got really high defense, so you're not gonna do that insane amount of damage to
Right.
him. But
Yeah, I guess overall, it's just kind of cool that they finally, made a couple of changes for these particular units. Because I mean, honestly, it's like anything, right? Until they make changes, no one will ever even consider them, you know. And so it was kind of cool to see people test them out. But it seems like the consensus from even not just the Epic Fail community, but overall, is that even though it has been has been unique to put them in. I mean, unless you're Fwa with OP runes, right? It seems like people are still kind of going after the water one. But you're saying you're gonna kind of try to play around, stay away from even the water and light. You're gonna kind of play around with this wind one now versus them all.
yep, I I think I think the light drunken master could work, but only in the Rift boss, the Rift bosses, not the Rift raid. But
Sure.
yeah, but I think Mian might be better overall in the Rift raid. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
because I know a lot of, I mean, I know a few players has tested the light drunken master and they do not like him for the Rift raids. But I have not done any testing, so I do not exactly know.
Gotcha.
So
Right on. Yeah, I'm excited to do some more testing. Again, if you guys have any insight on that, put that in the comment section down below. If you have done some testing yourself, what are some of the numbers that you tested on? What are some of the stats that you had, the numbers that you hit, got on there. Give me an idea of what you think the damage multipliers, if you like them, if you're yay or nay about them. I want to hear about them. Let's see here. Next one up. This one is going to be one that is funny because we're gonna call this an underrated and overlooked theater. I definitely overlooked this with regards to all the buffs that they brought in the last patch. There, this is one that Fwa brought to our attention, our community to the attention here. If we can find him here, he's hiding. There he is, the Wind Barbaric King, and you know that I'm not going to even try to pronounce that name.
yeah,
So
he's crazy. He's pretty much like a Nat 5 in my opinion, except for the base stats. But yeah,
right. So tell us a little about this. Why do you think it's so OP now?
yeah. I mean, his third skill, because what I consider OP is a unit that has one skill that does many different things. Well, his third skill, AoE's damages for 420%, and then it buffs your team for attack power and speed, uh, your entire team, and then it also increases his speed, and he's going to heal 10% of his HP every turn that he takes after that,
Hmm.
whenever that turns on cooldown, and it's crazy, and it's on a 3-turn cooldown. That skill.
Hmm. Right. So
That's
And with regards to the mechanic here, it's the damage comes after, sorry, before the buff. You don't get the
Yep.
buff and then the damage, right? So that's one
Yep.
thing to kind of consider. I remember when we first talked about this on my channel, I believe it was GG EXC that came on board for a video, and we were talking about him utilizing him in the Rift of Worlds. And of course, after so long, with all the other branding units coming out, Stella and whatnot, people kind of changed what they were looking at. And it's funny because now it's people are kind of bearing toward attention because Lord knows a lot of us had summoned these barbaric kings and been sitting there in that monster active storage, but now it seems like this one actually has some interesting potential. Interesting potential. So, you said the multipliers on that third skill was at 420%.
Yep. I mean, it hits 2 times for 210% each.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Okay. So, with regards to your testing right now, looking at your runes, your stats, 2100 attack. I'm assuming max wind tower, max attack tower, 150 crit damage. What are you kind of hitting for numbers?
to be honest, I have not tested that in PvP or anything else. Yeah, right now he's just built for Necro at the moment.
Ah, okay. Okay.
But but yeah, I mean, with this guy, there's actually a lot other uses that you could use for him. I mean, you can use him in AO, like for example with Gemini, but I guess we'll talk about that later in a bit. But let's see, what else is he used for? I mean, you can use him for giants to actually replace Galleon if... I mean, you can actually use him for, yeah, for giants. If you don't have a Galleon early game and you happen to summon this guy, he's pretty much like a perfect giant unit. I mean, because he just got a nerf to his first skill where it attacks once now instead of twice. So that's actually much better for the giants because of the amount of times that you attack him and he revenges after 6, 7 attacks.
Right.
But
Right. Now, considering the fact that some of the key things that this in addition to having like a really crazy third skill, the cool thing about this particular unit is the cooldown times on this is some of the best, if not the best, out there in the game for a Nat 4 that provides so much to this. So, thinking about those early game players, can they still get a lot of value out of this?
oh yeah, I mean, this guy's pretty much like, I mean, like one of the best units that you could summon at early game,
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion.
Yeah. I was gonna say even without the max skill or whatnot, we're looking at 3 turn cooldown on the second and then 4 turn cooldown on the third, so we can't complain about that. Cool, cool, cool. So yeah, I think the last one here, like I said, we kind of had a little bit to get into. This is the one that everybody is talking about with regards to the recent announcement here. We had ourselves that Hall of Heroes and the announcement of Gemini, the light Brownie Magician. I believe you actually have not pulled that one yet after everything you've pulled. Um, you have not gotten that one yet, right?
No, he's actually was one of my most wanted units. I mean, until I got Tiana, but before Tiana, it was, yeah. I mean, he's pretty much like a Tiana in a way. Come to Us just gave us Tiana in a way. In some
In a
cases,
way, in a
actually
way.
better. In some cases, actually better than Tiana.
All
So,
right. So in your eyes, this kind of opens up a whole new realm, especially actually, well, in your eyes, also in the eyes of our community. This opens up kind of a whole new realm of things. Do you want to kind of just break it down and explain the uniform?
yeah, I mean, here's why I think he's pretty much like Tiana. Like, for example, if you're running an AO and you run him as the leader, you get that speed leader, 19% speed leader, and then you have a really fast Orion. You could actually, so your Orion moves, and then your Gemini goes after, and he does his AoE. I mean, with his AoE, he does damage first, and then he removes the buffs, and then he adds on the defense break. So if you have attack on slot 4 and 6 or whatever, and you do enough damage, you break the shield, and there's only the immunity that's left to debuff. So yeah, you take off the immunity, and then you add in the defense break right after. And then let's say you also have the Wind Barbaric King, and your Wind Barbaric King moves after. He AoEs, and he can attack buff and speed buff your next unit, and your next unit could be an AoE nuker. So you pretty much have a 2 damage nuking AO that also debuffs, I mean, dispels the debuffs on your team and adds on defense break. It's
Now let me ask you this. A lot of people were talking about, early on builds. One of the things that we all talked about early on was like, okay, this is definitely going to be nice on the despair set, and obviously the optimal goal is to make him fast enough so you can speed tune him right after the Orion. With regards to its third skill, it does get that attack power, bonus or whatnot, and you made an argument there just on the possibly putting attack power on 4. I think a lot of people will initially try to make him fast and tanky. Can you make an argument for essentially trying to, have him provide a little bit more DPS since you're kind of losing out on that potential slot, or do you think it's let's just focus on the speed and the synergy and then deal with the DPS later?
I mean, it really depends what you're fighting. I mean, because if the players are running shield runes, then it might be better to have attack on slot 4. But if they're not running shield runes, then HP defense might be better overall. But
Right, right. So, and then of course, with regards to Guild Wars, here was the interesting question that we kind of popped in the evolution chat. When people like this have this unit open, it's going to open up a lot of opportunities for the Guild War offense, especially in the G1, G2, or G2, G3 ranks for the people that are utilizing Will. But additionally speaking, it's obviously going to have to be paired with some kind of attack bar booster in order for Gemini to work the way you want it to work with regards to buff removal. He cannot have any buffs on him, right? He can't be rocking Will, so essentially you're going to be pairing him up with like an attack bar booster so that he can go afterwards and remove those harmful effects. Now my question to you is, initially speaking, you're going to be, throwing some kind of an AoE unit with him, possibly speed base. One of the first things that we kind of thought about was the Fire Homunculus. Is there any other DPS kind of unit that you can think of that would kind of go hand in hand with this unit, like a Gemini Orion X? What kind of options do you think people have in the community?
let's see. I mean, in Guild War offense, I don't think it's going to do enough damage to just have one single nuker. But, I mean, yeah, I can't really think of any Guild War offense teams using him in Orion and a nuker. But, I mean, for AO, there's actually a really interesting other choice, which is the Wind Horus. Because let's say your Orion goes, your Gemini goes, and then your Wind Barbarian King goes after, and then he buffs the speed and attack, and then your Wind Horse goes next. Your Wind Horse can actually buff himself, the crit rate and the defense, and then nuke afterwards, meaning you could actually rune him for 70% crit rate instead of the full trying to get 100%. So that's some extra stats that you do not need to fulfill or whatever.
And I like that thought process. Now, considering that, I think we kind of have to limit that to the people that are kind of at your the upper echelon with regards to your area. Most people that are playing the game, they're just using their common, Guild War offense composition with, copper and bulldozer or whatnot. I don't know if do you think that's a viable option for them to go, or say stick with the setup that is allowing them to get the job done with regards to Guild Wars?
I mean, yeah, it's probably better to keep him set up for the Guild Wars, but yeah, let's say, I mean, if you're crazy and have a bunch of horses and you just happen to have another one that's max scaled, then he might be useful for actually AO, because his second skill can actually do up to like 30, 40, 45k damage even if pretty decently well runed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And do you, now that I'm just thinking about it now, do you feel like, um, for some of the people out there, is there any kind of composition with regards to Gemini that people can work in some type of Kona? What do you think?
Konamiya and Gemini. So you rune your Gemini really fast, I mean on Swift, and then your Kona also on Swift, and then you surge your nuker afterwards, Is that what you
Hmm.
mean? Like if your Gemini was 270 speed on Swift, and then your Konami was 260 speed on Swift, and then you search your uh, 110 speed Tashar or whatever unit, and you AoE nuke.
Yeah,
Is that what you mean? That's
yeah.
actually not a bad idea. That could actually work.
But here's the question that I throw out there because people are going to be like, "What are you talking about, Childish?" My question is, when we're thinking about this, I want to put it out there like blanket statement. That idea to some people is going to be so horrific they don't. It's not going to make too much sense. But at the end of the day, when it comes down to people like yourself, people that have been able to get the jump on others, it's all about brainstorming or theory crafting, things that people are not going to expect. I was thinking the other day about some of the Guild War defenses that I've seen out there, and they're so enticing, right? That you're just like, oh my god, what is that guy doing? Let's go ahead and attack it. But once you get into that fight and you realize, you see the chain reaction of their units and what they're trying to do, it's like, wow, I get it now. But it's too late because I just got wrecked, So I don't, when I throw it out there, I throw it out there lightly because again, it seems like to really get a lot of value out of this, you're going to have to pair with an attack bar booster. But if you are fortunate enough to have some pretty good Swift sets, and maybe the composition that they're bringing to the mix is not using any kind of speed bases, so you know that the speed that you're bringing is definitely going to be stronger than what the opponent is going to bring. Is there a way of trying to make a Gemini Konamiya with maybe some kind of a speed or unit that at least has some crazy speed substats, able to get the job done, possibly somehow get a extra like an extra turn, if we go Gemini DPS X, something that's gonna allow them to get a turn, research them, and then do it again. You know what I'm saying?
Interesting. Interesting.
I don't know, but I'm throwing it out there. What we'll have to do now is leave it up to the community. Let's hear their debate on all of the potential Guild War offense, Guild War defense, if it even is viable. Put it in the comment section down below. Those defenses, offense, and which ones do you like and why? Like, which ones do you think is good? But yeah, that was pretty much it for the week that we had. Was there anything else you wanted to add, Fall, with regards to the conversations we had this last week?
Let me see. There's just let's see. There's one thing else. Just the whole Megan Bastat comparison thing. I mean, with the second skill, Bastat has a defense break and all that stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
Megan might actually work better against maybe Rakan, just because Megan could potentially remove Rakan's attack buff or the immunity. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but he'll still have one of the other buffs. So
Yep.
where Bastat can't really do much.
Right. I think ultimately it just kind of like you're saying right now, it's really going to come down to what you see in the current meta. What are people utilizing and making the best choice versus what you're trying to do. Like for my situation, Charlotte Mega Lucian or Charlotte Bastet Lucian, it's not going to make no difference because my intention is to clear two or more units after the first wave. But if something is of the sort where you're like, oh yeah, you're taking it into like a double water slash fire based unit, and you have Rakan is the fire one. Yeah, maybe we can make an argument for Megan, or maybe stay away from it completely because it's a crazy, it's a crazy fire unit, and you don't want to get yourself too involved. I mean, I definitely think it kind of depends on what we're seeing. So
Let's see if there's anything else. Man, just that Gemini is pretty much like Tiana. I mean, that's the only thing that I wanted to re-say it again. Just it's crazy.
no, now we'll throw it out there at the very end. Give it like in your eyes, give a brief explanation of why it's comparable to Tiana, because Tiana, unresistible, buff removal and removes everything versus Gemini only being able to remove one and the potential to be countered with shield runes. Why do you think it's in that realm of Tiana?
Okay, so where sometimes I have trouble with speed teams when I am using Tiana because I don't have a speed leader, but in Gemini's case, he has a speed lead. So yeah, you're going to be able to outspeed your opponent most of the time if you have a really fast Orion. So where Tiana, the max speed that I could get Tiana without her speed leader is maybe 280, where if you are running Gemini and an Orion, you can get your Orion speed up. Like even if my Orion was on the same runes as my Tiana, my Orion would be around 293 or whatever, 293, 294. With Gemini speed lead, my Orion would be around like 310, whatever. So you get 30 more speed than if you are running a Zeros Tiana team.
Now,
And
what about the people? What about the people that are fortunate enough to have that either 24 or 33% speed leader? Isn't that going to be a little bit hard for the top 100 players out there competing?
if let's see, oh, you're talking about if the AD is running 24-33 speed leader.
Right. With a speed boost, yeah, with a speed boost, with them like an Orion or whatever.
Most of the time, they're going to be runing their Orions on will runes with their speed leaders. So max their Orion's going to be around like 285. I mean, if you're talking about the top 5 players, but
Hmm.
if you're talking about just Guardian to Guardian 2, their Orions on will runes are typically around 260, 200 and from 260 to 280. So if you
Sure.
just put your fastest set on your Orion, depending what ranks you are or how good your runes are, if you just put the fastest runes on your Orion, you're most likely going to outspeed your opponent because you don't have to put will runes on your Orion. So
Gotcha. Cool. Oh, very cool. I like it. I like it, sir. All right. I think that pretty much covers it. Anything else you wanted to add for the community?
I think that's it that I can
Yeah.
think of.
So again, guys, Theorycraft Thursday will basically be hitting up some of the conversations that we have with regards to our community, the Epic Fail community. We'll put it out there in a video once every Thursday and leave it up for discussion and debate. At the end of the day, we're putting this out on behalf of our theories and thoughts. We're not saying they are right. We're not saying they are wrong. What we're saying is we want the community to work together and try to learn from one another so we can overall all of us improve. I feel like the theory crafting in this game has been kind of a lost cause. It hasn't been what it used to be, and we want to bring that back for not just our guilds or our community, but for everybody out there. So I thank you once again, Fwa, for coming on board and kind of assisting me with this video. I appreciate it, sir.
No problems. Always fun.
All right, guys. If you haven't been familiar with the streamer and YouTuber Fwa, go ahead and check it out. I'll leave a link on the top right for his YouTube channel. Feel free to check him out at twitch.tv/Fwa with an underscore. We will get you that. I'll put that link or I'll put the information down below so you can go ahead and check it out. Go ahead and give him a follow as he does stream quite frequently throughout the week. All right. So that is it. We are done. It's your boy Childish and What the Fwa with Childish Plays checking out. Take care and we will see you next week, guys. We're out.